Okay, so we pick up with part 2 of our complacency is my enemy, and we're just going to go straight into looking at the acronym FIGHT, to use that word fight to have some tools to help us fight complacency. Okay, so there are 5 steps to avoid complacency once you have achieved your goal. Now, these 5 steps I got from a website as I was just kind of researching about, okay, I know that complacency is my enemy, but what can I do? What can I share with these athletes and these coaches about what they can do to fight it? Because if we it's one thing to recognize a problem, but you have to also know what to do about it. And so these were the 5 steps that that I saw that were the most important. 1 was to start every day from scratch. Sustainable excellence is about getting better every day. And so I took that first step there and I used the word F and for fresh start. So the number 1 way to fight complacency is to start every day with a fresh start. And Lamentations 3:22 through 23 says, "The Lord's loving kindness indeed never cease, for his compassions never fail. They are new every morning." And Philippians 3:13 says, "Brethren, I do not regard myself as having laid hold of it yet, but one thing I do, forgetting what lies behind and reaching forward to what lies ahead." So that verse in Lamentations reminds us that God's mercies are new every morning. So that verse, I like to use it to remind me that no matter how I failed yesterday, no matter how bad the game was, no matter how bad anything outside of the game and just everyday life might have been, no matter how bad the mess up was, the Lord's mercies are new tomorrow. I can go to the Lord and I can take this issue, I can take this failure, I can take this situation and I can lay it at his feet and know that tomorrow is a new day. Tomorrow is a new day. I can start fresh because his mercies are new every morning. And then that passage in Philippians 3:13, it reminds me that no matter how great yesterday was, I may have had the absolute best game of my entire life. I may have made some of the most slamming, awesome decisions that just profited me in so many ways. I may have just scored the highest on a test. I may have just made the promotion, whatever it may be. I may have just had the best day of my life. I can't ride that best day into tomorrow. I have to forget what lies behind, learn from it just like I learned from the failures and the mistakes, and start anew the next day, a fresh start every morning. So we fight complacency with a fresh start. F. And then number 2, surround yourself with people who will tell you like it is. Okay, so that next letter is I. And so I like to use that I for inner circle. Inner circle. Proverbs 11:14 says, "Where there is no guidance, the people fall, but in abundance of counselors there is victory." And then Proverbs 15:22 says, "Without consultation, plans are frustrated, but with many counselors, they succeed." It is so important that we surround ourselves with people that are going to speak truth to us. We need people in our lives that are going to pick us up when we fall, and we need people in our lives that are bring us down when we get a little too high. Okay, when we get a little too big for our britches, we need people in our lives that are going to remind us that that only lasts for a certain amount of time. You've got to continue to work hard. You've got to continue to press on. You've got to continue to grow. You have to start fresh every morning. So we need that inner circle that's not just going to tell us what we want to hear, but that is going to speak truth and life into us, whether that be that we need picked up and encouraged, or whether that be that we need reminded who we are, that we may need brought down a notch or two in love, of course. So we need an inner circle in order to fight complacency. We need people in our lives that are going to push us to be better than we were yesterday, no matter what that may look like. And then number 3 is to focus on the process instead of the outcome. Follow an established approach with discipline. There is no way to repeat success consistently without a method, formula, or approach. So our next letter is G in the word fight. So that G is going to stand for get a plan. Get a plan. When I would go and share this with our basketball teams and our volleyball teams, it was always the reminder, the visual of that was how many times do you hear your coach say, set up the play, set up the play. And why do we need to set up the play? Because that is the plan. And if we will carry out and we will execute the plan, then we will see success. And so even if it doesn't look like it's, there's no way that it can work, it's just like, just follow the plan. And so we have to get a plan, and we have to trust in the process of that plan, even though we don't see immediate results. And so the scripture verses that I use for that is, you have ordained your precepts that we should keep them diligently. It's like, and that is Psalm 119:4. And then 2 Corinthians 5:7, for we walk by faith, not by sight. So when we're going through the process, our sight may not seem that we're getting anywhere, but by faith, we keep to the plan. We keep to the precepts of God, even though it may seem like the opposite is happening. Like we're expecting to be blessed because we're living our lives according to God's way, but it doesn't seem to be working out that way. And God is like, just trust me and keep to my precepts and walk according to my way. Walk by faith, not by sight. Trust the process because I'm doing an amazing work in you and through you. So get a plan and then trust that plan. And I love to use the example too of the old movie Karate Kid, the old Karate Kid, where Mr. Miyagi is teaching Daniel-san karate. He has him keeping to come to his house, and he's got him waxing the cars and painting the fence and sanding the floor, and he has him doing all this stuff. And finally, Daniel-san is like, why am I doing all this? I thought that I was coming to learn karate, but you haven't taught me anything. And then Mr. Miyagi begins to show him that he'd been teaching him all along. And so Daniel-san had grown frustrated with the process, and he didn't even realize that he was learning. And so sometimes that happens with us. So we fight complacency by getting a plan and following that plan and not quitting when we don't see immediate results, when it doesn't seem to be going. Get a plan. Follow that plan. Okay, then the next step is to continuously learn and adapt techniques and approaches to remain current with best practices and trends. I just like to use that for, hunt ways to improve. So that's our H, F-I-G-H-T in fight. So that H is hunt ways to improve. And Proverbs 1:5 says, a wise man will hear and increase in learning, and a man of understanding will acquire wise counsel. If we're going to fight complacency, we have to choose to remain learners. We have to remain coachable. We have to take the initiative to grow. We can't just sit back and wait for growth to come to us. We have to hunt ways to improve ourselves. We can't use that excuse, well, nobody taught me, well, nobody picked me out, or nobody showed me. It's just take the initiative. And that initiative may just be finding someone and initiating the conversation and just flat out asking for help, asking for instructions. But hunt ways to improve. Don't grow complacent with where you are and then start making excuses for not growing. Hunt ways to improve. If you want to get better at your skill, your sport, hunt ways to improve. Start researching drills and activities and other people that you can learn from to set up special times to shoot, or do more at home on your own. If you want to improve your grades, take the initiative to go to that teacher, take the initiative to go to that guidance counselor, take the initiative to approach that student that just is excelling in that class and ask for help. Hunt ways to improve. Just take the initiative. The opportunities are endless, and so many times in life, all we have to do is take the first step, and God will complete it. He'll take us to places that we didn't even know existed, and open doors that we didn't even see were there when we take the initiative to trust Him. The last step that I'm going to share about fighting complacency is step number 5, which is to recharge the batteries. It's to build in time for rest, relaxation, hobbies, reflection, and quality time with family and friends. This is what gives you the energy to continue to compete, to innovate, and to succeed. And so remember that T is going to stand for tone it down. And so Matthew 11:28-29 says, "Come to me, all who are weary and heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls." Matthew 11:28-29. So when I talk about tone it down, I'm not just talking about resting your bodies. We need to rest our souls as well, especially our young kids, and and even us old people as well now, because our cell phones now have become such a hindrance to our souls getting rest. I can get on that cell phone, and within 10 minutes I can be livid. If I go to the right places and go to the right sites and scroll long enough, I'm going to see enough things that are going to upset me and stir in me and frustrate me and aggravate me. And for our kids, it is even worse. So if you are an athlete watching this, if you are a student watching this, please, please, please leave the phone alone for at least an hour a day, and don't let it be the last thing that you see before you go to sleep. Take some time to rest your souls. When I was in school, I could have bad situations going on at school, but I got to leave it at school. When I walked out the door, it was there. I didn't have to bring it home with me. I could come home and I could get a break from it. But unfortunately, today, you can have something happen at school, and by the time you get home, it's already been shared 1,000 times on Facebook. Not Facebook, y'all don't do a whole lot of Facebook, but Snapchat, Instagram, whatever, whatever it may be, it's done spread out however long. And whatever situation that you might have gotten yourself in or happened at school, it can be 2 o'clock in the morning and someone can still be pounding at you. And that just was not something that I had to deal with when I was in high school, because at 2 o'clock in the morning, if the phone rang, somebody was going to know about it. And there was no silent text messages going on. And so find time to rest your souls. If you're an athlete and you're on that court and you never rest your body, if you go day after day, sport after sport, eventually you're going to get tired, and when you get tired, you're going to end up injuring yourself. And so and then you're going to be out of the game. And so the same thing happens with our hearts, and the same thing happens with our minds, and the same thing happens with our souls. And the only place that you can find rest for your souls is in Jesus Christ. So let me encourage you that if you do not have a relationship with Christ, if you do not have a peace that surpasses all understanding, if you can't come in at the end of the day and be able to say, even though I may be in the midst of all kind of chaos and mess, it is well with my soul, because I know Christ and I can rest in who He is and who He says that I am. So fighting complacency, get a fresh start every day. Get an inner circle for that I. G, get a plan. H, hunt ways to improve. And T, tone it down. So those are some tools to put in your pocket to help you fight complacency.